Spirituality is a deeply personal quest, yet it is also embedded in social and cultural contexts that often shape our understanding of the divine. For those called the chosen ones, those who feel an intense spiritual calling, the journey is often marked by uncomfortable questions, a sense of displacement, and frequently a gradual distancing from traditional churches. This movement, which might seem paradoxical at first, has philosophical and spiritual reasons that go beyond a simple rejection of doctrines or religious practices. It is a call to something greater, more intimate, and perhaps more aligned with the essence of what faith truly is. To understand this phenomenon, we must first address the very idea of being chosen. In traditional churches, the term often carries the connotation of predestination or holiness, but for many who leave these institutions, being chosen is less about divine privileges and more about spiritual responsibilities. It is as if the chosen one is compelled to explore the less trodden paths, to question what is accepted without reflection, and to seek the sacred beyond the boundaries imposed by dogmas. But why does this distancing from churches occur? Perhaps the answer lies in part in the mismatch between individualized spirituality and structured belief systems. When the chosen ones begin to feel that their connection to the divine is not being nurtured or that the rules imposed by institutions do not resonate with their inner journey, the desire to seek something different arises, something that more truly echoes within their soul. Moreover, the modern age has brought forward a variety of new perspectives on spirituality. Today, it is easier than ever to access information about different practices and beliefs. This access opens up a world of possibilities and questions the exclusivity of any particular tradition. Churches, which once were the unquestionable center of spiritual life, now compete with an abundance of voices offering different paths to the sacred. This distancing can also be seen as an act of courage, as the chosen ones often face judgment, isolation, and even internal doubts as they follow their own path. It is a journey that requires strength to detach from what is familiar and trust to venture into the unknown. The chosen ones then do not necessarily abandon faith by leaving the churches. On the contrary, many report a deeper connection with God or the divine outside of traditional structures. It is as if, by liberating themselves from the physical and metaphorical walls of institutions, they find a broader sky, a divine voice that speaks directly to their hearts, without intermediaries. This search for a more authentic relationship with the divine is, at its core, an expression of a universal truth. Spirituality is not static. It evolves, adapts, and often requires that we leave behind what we know to find what truly nourishes us. Spiritual and cultural diversity offers a window into how different traditions and societies interpret the idea of being chosen. While the term chosen carries significant weight in Christianity and other monotheistic religions, its essence is not exclusive to these traditions. Throughout history, various cultures and spiritual systems have presented their own versions of individuals or groups who, in some way, were called to something beyond the ordinary. In Western traditions, especially in Christianity, being chosen is often associated with a specific divine plan. It is the idea that God selects individuals to fulfill a mission, whether to lead, inspire, or serve as examples of faith. But this view, while powerful, does not capture the full extent of what it means to be chosen in other parts of the world. In the East, for example, the notion of being chosen may be more related to spiritual awakening than to an external mission. In Buddhism, there is no idea of divine predestination, but there is a strong concept of enlightenment, where individuals awaken to the true nature of reality and thus transform not only their lives but also the lives of those around them. Spiritual masters and bodhisattvas are often seen as chosen, not by an external power, but by the depth of their connection with the essence of existence. In indigenous traditions, both in the Americas and other parts of the world, the concept of being chosen is often associated with the role of shamans or healers. These individuals often do not become chosen by their own will, but through signs, visions, or even deep spiritual crises that lead them to a specific role within their communities. The chosen one in this context is one who has the responsibility to mediate between the human world and the spiritual world, ensuring balance and healing. These cultural differences help us understand that the idea of being chosen transcends any specific religious structure. Instead, it points to a universal phenomenon, the call to live in alignment with a higher truth and to serve in some way the greater good. However, there is also a similarity that unites these approaches. The path of the chosen one is often solitary and challenging. In any tradition, those who answer this call face resistance, doubts, and a sense of disconnection from the world around them. This theme resonates deeply in the journey of the chosen ones who distanced themselves from traditional churches. They are not rejecting spirituality. They are, in fact, responding to an internal call that transcends cultural and doctrinal boundaries. By examining these diverse perspectives, we are invited to reflect on how our own experiences connect with this larger narrative. Being chosen is not a privilege but a commitment. It is not a title but a journey. And in every culture, this journey is marked by a universal desire to understand the deeper meaning of existence. Modern psychology has provided a fascinating perspective on the understanding of spirituality, especially in regard to the human need for personalized spiritual experiences. Carl Jung, in particular, opened an essential path for this understanding by exploring how our psyche seeks integration and wholeness through what he called the process of individuation. For Jung, spirituality was not an externally imposed system of beliefs, but an internal call to discover and integrate all parts of ourselves, both conscious and unconscious. This desire for an individualized spiritual path is especially evident among the chosen ones who distance themselves from traditional churches. Often, it is not faith that conflicts, but the fixed and dogmatic structure that these institutions represent. Psychology suggests that the human being has an intrinsic need for freedom of expression and authenticity. When someone's spiritual practice is shaped exclusively by external rules, a feeling of suffocation can arise, as if an essential part of their soul is being ignored or repressed. In this context, intuition and self-exploration play a central role. Instead of seeking answers in texts or sermons, many chosen ones turn inward, exploring their own emotions, dreams, and experiences as guides to the divine. This approach is deeply aligned with Jungian principles, which value the unconscious as a reservoir of wisdom that can guide us to a greater understanding of ourselves and the world around us. Moreover, modern psychology recognizes that individualized spirituality is an antidote to the dangers of alienation. In contemporary societies where people often feel like mere cogs in an impersonal machine, creating a personal spiritual path can bring a renewed sense of purpose and connection. Positive psychology, for example, highlights that personalized spiritual practices are associated with higher levels of emotional well-being and resilience. This trend of seeking spirituality outside the churches, however, does not mean completely rejecting traditional religious teachings. Many chosen ones find value and inspiration in sacred texts, rituals, or practices, but adapt them to reflect their own internal truths. This integration of the internal and external is an essential aspect of modern faith psychology. However, this path also requires courage. Creating a personalized spiritual experience means facing uncertainties, abandoning the security of predetermined answers, and being willing to navigate the unknown. It is a journey that challenges the chosen ones to trust their own intuition, even when it contradicts established social or religious norms. Thus, psychology helps us understand that distancing from traditional churches is not necessarily an act of rejection but of reconnection. It is a movement toward a spirituality that resonates more deeply with the self, the most authentic and essential part of who we are. Modern technology has transformed nearly every aspect of human life, and spirituality is no exception. With the advent of the internet, social media, and streaming platforms, those seeking spiritual connection now have access to an abundance of resources that transcend geographical and doctrinal boundaries. For the chosen ones, these digital tools represent a revolution in the way spirituality is explored, experienced, and shared. Traditionally, churches were the epicenters of spiritual life. They provided not only a physical space for practicing faith but also a community where values and beliefs were reinforced. Today, however, technology allows the chosen ones to build spiritual communities in completely new ways. Online groups, channels dedicated to spirituality, and discussion forums offer connections with people around the world who share similar visions, even if these visions are highly individualized. One of the most significant impacts of technology on spirituality is the democratization of knowledge. Religious texts, spiritual philosophies, and teachings from ancient and contemporary masters are now accessible to anyone with an internet connection. This gives the chosen ones the freedom to explore multiple traditions and practices, finding what resonates most deeply with their individual journeys. Moreover, technology allows the chosen ones to consume content at their own pace. Videos, podcasts, and guided meditations can be accessed at any time, turning everyday moments, such as commutes or breaks at work, into opportunities for spiritual growth. This is especially valuable for those who do not find the support or inspiration they are looking for in traditional churches. However, digital spirituality also presents challenges. Information overload can be overwhelming, making it difficult to distinguish between authentic content and superficial material. Virtual connections, however powerful they may be, do not completely replace the depth of in-person interactions and community rituals. Still, for many chosen ones, technology offers a space where they can explore, experiment, and evolve without the limitations imposed by dogmas or fixed traditions. Social media, in particular, has played an ambivalent role in the spiritual lives of the chosen ones. On the one hand, it provides a platform for sharing insights, finding spiritual mentors, and engaging in meaningful discussions. On the other hand, it can encourage toxic comparisons and the search for external validation, which goes against the spirit of authenticity that is so important to the chosen ones. In this scenario, the chosen ones must navigate digital spirituality with discernment. It is important to consume content that truly nourishes the soul, rather than simply following trends or accumulating superficial information. Technology should be viewed as a tool, not an end in itself. When used wisely, it can expand horizons, connecting the chosen ones to a global network of spiritual seekers, while reinforcing their connection to the divine. The personal testimonies of the chosen ones offer an intimate and powerful insight into the experience of distancing from traditional churches. Each story is unique, but together, they weave a mosaic of challenges, discoveries, and transformations that illustrate the spiritual journey outside conventional religious institutions. These narratives not only inspire but also validate the experiences of others who find themselves on a similar path. Many chosen ones report that the first step out of the traditional church was not driven by a loss of faith, but by a longing for something deeper. They often describe a growing disconnection between the teachings preached and the internal call they felt. A common testimony is that of people who began to realize that their spiritual journey was being shaped more by external expectations than by a genuine connection with the divine. This awakening is often described as painful but liberating. A striking example comes from people who mention moments of crisis as catalysts for this transformation. The loss of a loved one, an emotional collapse, or even an overwhelming sense of emptiness are often described as moments of breakdown that lead to reconstruction. In these circumstances, the chosen ones report finding an inner space where the divine voice becomes clearer, often replacing the need for external mediations, such as pastors or religious dogmas. On the other hand, there are those whose distancing was more gradual, fueled by a constant feeling that the answers they were seeking could not be found within the walls of an institution. For these chosen ones, the path was less about dramatic ruptures and more about a slow unfolding of perceptions, where spirituality began to take on more personal and individual forms. Another recurring theme in testimonies is the idea of reconnection. Although the chosen ones often distance themselves from traditional churches, many report finding God or the divine in more pure and authentic ways outside of them. One described the experience of being amidst nature and feeling such a deep connection that words seemed inadequate to describe it. Another spoke about the discovery of practices like meditation and contemplative reading, which opened doors to levels of self-awareness and spiritual connection that they had never experienced before. However, these testimonies also reveal the challenges faced by the chosen ones as they follow their own paths. The judgment of family and friends, the sense of isolation, and the struggle against their own doubts are obstacles many mention. But, paradoxically, these difficulties are often seen as part of the process of strengthening. One chosen one described this as the forging of the spirit, where both external and internal resistance help to shape a more resilient and independent faith. These personal accounts not only shed light on the journey of the chosen ones but also serve as a reminder that spirituality is a deeply human experience. They show that it is possible to find meaning, purpose, and connection outside established structures, and that the divine can be found in unexpected places, often within ourselves. Understanding the historical evolution of churches is essential to contextualize why many chosen ones feel the need to distance themselves from traditional religious institutions. Over the centuries, churches underwent profound transformations, shaped by political, social, and cultural factors that influenced their doctrines, practices, and power structures. These changes often created a gap between the original spiritual essence and the institutional form that churches took on. In the beginning, spiritual communities were small and intimate. In Christianity, for example, the first meetings of Christ's followers took place in homes, marked by a sense of equality and direct connection with the divine. These gatherings were less about dogmas and more about sharing spiritual experiences and offering mutual support. However, as Christianity grew and became institutionalized, it began to align with political power structures, especially after its officialization by the Roman Empire. Over time, many churches adopted rigid hierarchies and practices that prioritized obedience to human leaders and institutional norms over individual spiritual freedom. For some chosen ones, this transition represented a disconnection between the original message of love and unity and the institutionalized system that emerged. This does not mean that all institutional religious practices are negative, but it illustrates how institutionalization can, in some cases, obscure the simplicity and authenticity of the spiritual experience. An important milestone in the history of churches was the Protestant Reformation, which highlighted the need to reform practices and doctrines that had deviated from the original spiritual purpose. This reform not only changed the religious landscape of the time but also planted the seed for a growing desire for a more direct connection with the divine, without intermediaries. Many chosen ones who distance themselves from traditional churches today reflect this same reformist spirit, seeking a path that prioritizes spiritual authenticity over fixed structures. Another critical point in the evolution of churches is how they responded to cultural and social changes. For some, churches failed to adapt to the times, maintaining doctrines that seem outdated or disconnected from modern realities. For others, the changes were seen as a compromise of the spiritual essence in favor of political or social agendas. These conflicting perceptions contribute to the sense of disconnection that many chosen ones experience. Furthermore, the centralization of power in many churches created an environment where dogmas were reinforced and questioning discouraged. For the chosen ones, who often feel an internal calling to explore and understand the divine in broader and more personal terms, this type of environment can seem limiting. They may feel that their spiritual journey is being restricted by rules and expectations that do not reflect their direct connection with God. On the other hand, the history of churches also reveals examples of authentic spirituality and renewal, where leaders and communities return to the roots of faith to recover its essence. These moments of spiritual revitalization show that churches have the potential to evolve and meet the needs of their members. Still, for many chosen ones, the search for authenticity leads them beyond the walls of institutions, toward a spirituality that transcends organizational boundaries. By understanding this history, it becomes clear that the distancing of the chosen ones is not an act of absolute rejection, but often an attempt to reconnect with the spiritual essence they believe has been lost or obscured. It is a search for freedom, authenticity, and a more direct and personal divine experience. Borderless spirituality has become a powerful alternative for those who feel that traditional religious practices no longer meet their spiritual needs. This approach embraces the idea that connection with the divine is not limited to fixed doctrines or specific rituals, but can be found in a wide variety of practices and experiences, often outside conventional structures. For the chosen ones, this represents liberation, permission to explore the sacred on their own terms. Non-traditional spiritual practices such as meditation, yoga, energy healing, and nature-based rituals have attracted many seeking a more intimate and personalized connection with the divine. These practices allow individuals to connect with their own energy and intuition, creating space for a spirituality that deeply aligns with who they are. For the chosen ones, who often have an acute sensitivity and an internal calling to transcend social and religious norms, these practices offer a way to honor their unique journey. One example of this can be seen in the growing popularity of spiritual retreats that combine elements from various traditions, such as Buddhist meditation, indigenous ceremonies, and mindfulness practices. These spaces welcome people from all religious backgrounds, allowing each individual to find something that resonates with their spirit. Borderless spirituality does not reject traditional religions but sees them as part of a broader spectrum of paths to the divine. Another important aspect of this approach is the emphasis on nature as a channel for spirituality. Many chosen ones report feeling a deep connection to the divine while spending time in forests, mountains, or by the sea. These natural environments provide a sense of unity with the cosmos, helping the chosen ones remember that they are part of something greater. This experience transcends words or rituals and is often described as a form of silent prayer, where the simple act of being present is a form of devotion. Borderless spirituality also encourages the exploration of teachings from various traditions. Sacred books such as the Bible, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Tao Te Ching can be seen not as strict manuals but as sources of wisdom that offer different perspectives on life and human purpose. For the chosen ones, this inclusive approach reflects their belief that divine truth is not limited to a single culture or tradition, but is universal and accessible to all. However, this path also presents challenges. The absence of a defined structure can sometimes lead to confusion or a sense of being lost. Without the guidance of a community or spiritual mentor, the chosen ones may wonder if they are on the right path. But, paradoxically, it is precisely this freedom to explore and experiment that allows them to grow and transform. Borderless spirituality requires courage and trust in one's own intuition, qualities that are often cultivated throughout the spiritual journey. For the chosen ones, this approach offers a way to transcend the limitations imposed by religious institutions and connect with the divine in a deeply personal and meaningful way. It is a journey that honors individuality while recognizing universal interconnectedness, allowing each step to be an authentic expression of faith and purpose. The challenges faced by the chosen ones in distancing themselves from traditional religious structures are significant and often deeply personal. While distancing may bring freedom and authenticity, it also presents barriers that test the spiritual and emotional resilience of those who follow this path. One of the most frequent challenges is social isolation. Churches and other traditional religious institutions are not just spaces for spiritual practice but also communities where people find support, belonging, and human connections. By distancing themselves, the chosen ones often face a social void that can be difficult to fill. Friends and family connected to religious traditions may interpret this distancing as rejection, which can lead to misunderstandings, judgments, and even ruptures in relationships. For the chosen ones, this often translates into a period of loneliness, which, though challenging, can be necessary for spiritual growth. Another obstacle is the struggle against internal doubt. Without the structure of an institution or the validation of a religious community, many chosen ones face moments where they question if they are on the right path. The absence of clear dogmas or defined rituals can be liberating but also lead to uncertainty. This requires the chosen ones to have unwavering trust in their own intuition and direct connection with the divine, which is not always easy to maintain amid the external voices questioning their choices. Social judgment is another significant challenge. In many cultures, participation in a religious institution is seen as a sign of morality or belonging to the community. Those who distance themselves may be perceived as deviants or even lost. This external judgment can be particularly painful for the chosen ones, who already carry the sensitivity of their unique spiritual journeys. The pressure to conform to social norms can create an internal conflict, especially when there is a genuine desire to maintain connections with family and community without compromising their spiritual authenticity. Moreover, the absence of rituals and communal practices can be a challenge. For many, religious rituals provide a structure that gives meaning to daily life and marks important moments. By distancing themselves from these practices, the chosen ones may miss a sense of rhythm or ritualistic connection with the divine. This leads them to create their own practices, which, though enriching, can be a trial and error process until they find what truly resonates with their spiritual journey. On the other hand, these challenges also represent opportunities. Social isolation can open space for introspection and self-awareness, allowing the chosen ones to deepen their connection with the divine without external distractions. Internal doubt, though uncomfortable, can be a powerful tool for growth, challenging the chosen ones to develop trust in themselves and their journey. Social judgment, as difficult as it may be, often serves as a reminder that spiritual authenticity requires courage and determination. Despite these barriers, the chosen ones who follow this path often report a profound sense of freedom and purpose. They learn to create their own spiritual communities, whether through online connections, meditation groups, or informal gatherings with people who share their vision. They also discover that the divine is not limited to specific rituals or institutions but can be found everywhere, in nature, in art, in music, or in a moment of contemplative silence. The challenges faced by the chosen ones in distancing themselves from traditional structures are not merely obstacles. They are, in fact, an integral part of their journey. These moments of difficulty test their faith, strengthen their resilience, and help them redefine what it means to live according to their spiritual truth. Reflecting on spirituality invites us to consider how our practices and beliefs shape over time, especially in challenging or innovative contexts. For the chosen ones, this reflection often culminates in an ongoing search for purpose and connection. As we reach the conclusion of such an introspective and rich journey, it is essential to consider how these discoveries shape not only our lives but also our impact on the world around us. Distancing oneself from traditional structures is often perceived as a rupture, but for the chosen ones, it is more fitting to see it as an act of reconnection. It is not about abandoning something but about seeking something deeper and more aligned with the essence of who they truly are. This journey of spiritual exploration may seem solitary at many points, but it is, in fact, an invitation to rediscover the divine in all things. Each step is a reminder that spiritual purpose transcends physical or doctrinal boundaries. This transformation, though deeply personal, also carries a collective implication. The chosen ones who embrace their spiritual individuality become agents of change, inspiring others to question, explore, and find their own truth. By living authentically, they create space for others to also find freedom and meaning. Each choice made with courage and integrity resonates beyond the individual, contributing to a broader movement of spiritual awakening. A fundamental aspect of this journey is the acceptance of the duality between light and shadow, between certainty and doubt, between belonging and independence. It is in the tension of these opposites that the chosen ones find growth and clarity. They learn that they do not have to choose between following their own path and maintaining meaningful connections with others. Instead, they integrate these dimensions, creating a spirituality that is both personal and inclusive. This journey is also a reminder that spirituality is not a destination, but an ongoing process. It manifests in the small daily choices, in the practices we cultivate, and in the ways we choose to relate to the world. For the chosen ones, each day offers a new opportunity to align more deeply with the divine, whether through silent contemplation, interaction with nature, or connection with other souls who share in this quest. As we conclude this reflection, we are called to recognize that spirituality is, ultimately, a journey of self-discovery. It is a process of remembering who we are, why we are here, and how we can contribute to a more conscious and connected world. This journey may be challenging, but it is also deeply rewarding, as it reconnects us with what is truest and most eternal within ourselves. And now, I invite you to reflect. How has your spiritual journey shaped your life? How have you used your authenticity to illuminate the path for others? Share your experiences in the comments, as they may inspire others who are also seeking answers. And if this message resonated with you, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share this message with those who could benefit from this reflection. Together, we can create a space where self-knowledge and spirituality thrive. May your journey continue with courage and purpose, and until next time.